What is up, guys? It is your boy Vladis, who is not feeling particularly well. I had a 1v1 scheduled yesterday, but it didn't end up working out, and it kind of worked out in general because my my throat is, I would not have been able to have you tried sleeping? I have tried indeed. And my little one last night woke up about 3 times at night. She slept the previous night completely all night. We didn't wake up once, which was great. Not so much the last night. My throat is just, I think I'm getting strep or some kind of throat infection. So it ended up working out. I'm gonna try. So it was actually supposed to be with Nice. I reached out to Nice, and he said he would do it, and then some things happened on his end where we might have to do it maybe next week. And I think that just works in general because we're gonna see. I'm gonna test it right now with streaming right now and just kind of talking. But I wanted to talk to him just about his, Ash's experience so far, talk about the tank changes. I wanted to kind of educate myself on that because I know I've seen so many people talk about how the recent tank changes are really terrible. And then there's a couple people I talked to say that the changes are actually really good. So I have no idea what's going on. So that's why I wanted to talk to him to kind of get his point of view, since he's been playing tank the entirety of phase 1 and 2. So yeah, and I haven't spoke with him in a bit. So just to kind of catch up in general to see how he's doing. But yeah, see how Syndicate's doing. So yeah, hopefully next week. I'm really hoping that we can chat next week. But today, PTR was supposed to happen and get some kind of notes, some kind of indication of Rogue. And believe me, if they drop something, you best believe that I'm going to be playing it. Not where y'all can see it, but I will be playing it, and I will be, even if it's me playing it like this, where you just see my face and we can just talk about the talent trees, talk about the feel of it or whatever, I am totally down to do that as well. I'm enjoying Grid as an active ability, just needs to last longer. So I am not familiar with tank. Just to be 100% clear. But from what I know is that grit is an active mitigation button. And in World of Warcraft, where I play tank, most active mitigations last 4 to 6 seconds. Grit lasts 8 seconds. So I don't know where people are wanting it to last longer. Like I don't know why. That's why I wanted to talk to Nice. I wanted to get his perspective on things. Because me as a WoW player, I'm thinking, well, damn, 8 seconds is quite a long time to just hit the button and then loop it back into your rotation to hit it again 8 seconds later. So I don't know. I think Grit used to last 15 seconds. Am I correct or not correct? I don't know. But yeah, I have no idea. I'm not here to try to talk about that stuff. But what I am here to talk about is I've been playing with my boy GPT, first name chat, and I have been working with them, pumping information into this bot to try to create, in my opinion, what a suitable guild talent tree could look like in Ashes of Creation. And let me see, 40 courage is expensive for 10 seconds. And again, like, I don't know what kind of, I haven't played with the courage resource. I haven't played with the tank at all, so I don't know. But that was just kind of my indication as to like what it is. And it could be cheaper, right? Like the resource of it could be this. But I think the major question is, do people want more of a passive tank style, or do they want more of an active tank style? Because if you have a longer CD, then you're not really tanking, in my opinion. Tanks, their gameplay always derived off to sustaining your active mitigation, not dealing damage. So again, this is just my perspective when I'm playing tank. My focus is on staying alive. My focus is on building active mitigation, popping my defensive cooldowns timely to where I don't die. Everybody plays tank differently, but that's just how when I'm playing tank, that's the things that I look at and things that I care for. Let me see. Grits was a passive before, like defensive stance from WoW. Oh, okay. So it wasn't 15 seconds long. You just... So that's kind of boring. So, I mean, it's kind of like a Righteous Fury, or what was it the Paladins had back in the day to just generate more threat. You just had like Righteous something that you had on. And that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, and again, they can always make it to where what style of play do you want, right? They can make a particular passive node for Grit that could be a more active play style or a more passive play style. Like, you know, it's not the end of the world. I mean, I think when it comes to, especially when it comes to classes, this is the kind of feedback that Intrepid wants. Excuse me, drink some water. Excuse me. Oh, I don't want to say before I continue, Mag, thank you so much for the sub, dude. Very much appreciated, man. Thank you for the support. But yeah, and again, go leave your feedback on whether it's the Discord weekly update feedback thread. Go leave your feedback on the forums. Go leave your feedback on Reddit, especially if you're a tank. You know what I mean? Don't just talk about it in Discord in the A2 general. Leave your thoughts. Like, I don't care if it's short, long, you know, let them know how you feel about it. Because if you don't say anything, it's just like voting, right? You can't really say anything if you didn't vote, right? So this is kind of your way of voting on how the tank is in line with how you like or not in line with what you like, right? For me, it's kind of easy because I'm a content creator. I can just make a video about it, send that video to Intrepid, and boom, I'm done, you know? But I still try to engage in the forums. I still try to engage in other ways to see how the overall community feels about my stuff. And this is where right now for the guild talent tree, where I've been, you know, wanting to get. So many of you guys know that I am not a fan of allocating talent points to grow your guild. I think it's atrocious. I think it's terrible and unengaging and just bad. I don't like it at all. I think if you want to be a 300-man guild day one, you should be. If you want to be a 150-man guild day one, you should be. And I think I've kind of created a really cool talent system that doesn't restrict guild size by a talent tree, but it restricts things in other ways. Okay. So as you can see here, you know, this is like the breakdown, and I'm going to kind of go over it line by line. So in my talent tree, a guild's maximum level is level 25. There are 4 branches. So 4 spider webs. Which basically has 2 lines per branch that you can go up. And there's 4 distinct categories that you'll be able to go into. Now, none of these nodes have wording in it that it increases your guild size by 10 or 20 or whatever. All that shit's gone. None of that exists in my talent tree. The only thing that exists in my talent tree are unique. And mind you, I have not yet like did all the finagling with, and I'll go over some examples of like what are some of these nodes, like what are some of these examples of the node you can select as a guild. So basically when it comes to the smaller guilds, and I also increased the minimum size of a guild. So for me in this talent tree, small guilds exist anywhere between 1 to 149. So you can be, you know, I think it takes a minimum of 10 persons to make a guild, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong in that, or maybe I'm not. Like maybe you can just buy and have a guild of 8 people if you wanted to. But basically in general, from 1 person all the way to 149, Your guild can access all of the nodes in the guild talent tree. From 150 to 199, that's when you start actually locking out some of the nodes. For the larger guilds that are 200 to 249, there's more node restrictions. And for mega guilds, you have the highest restrictions. Okay. So let me kind of show you before we get into some of the talents that we kind of went over. Let me see right here. So this is the kind of the guild size and tier accessibility chart that it kind of let me know. So for any of the tier 1, what am I looking at here? Just made it in. So I am going over, I worked with ChatGPT today and came up with a completely different guild talent tree system than what Intrepid has. And I'm basically just going over the finer points. I kind of already went over some stuff. So Magic, if you want to go and watch the YouTube VOD later on to know what I already said previously. But basically what we're looking at here is that tier 1, which is the first bottom row, every guild, does not matter, mega guild, large guild, small guild, can access the entire tier 1 row. So currently right now there is a tier 1 that is for all, right? So if we go here, let me go here real quick. Ashes Wiki. Guild progression. Actually, let me just do this. Sorry. All right. So if we go here, there's already a mistake in my opinion. In my opinion, it should actually be a little bit reversed. The where you start shouldn't be more limited, because having your level 0 basically, or your level 1, you can need to be level 2, you put 1 point in. The only choice you have is this node in the current talent tree. That's bad. Okay. So I want more choice, especially when I know I'm going to be limited. So in my talent tree, just like how this is a branch, this is a branch, and this is a branch, in my talent tree, it's not crazy. It's not like, oh, this, you have to go here and then this. No. None of that shit exists. You basically just each branch has 2 rows, and it goes up to 5, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there's one side by side. So it's basically 2 that goes up to 5. And the first row, you have 2, 4, 6, 8. So you have 8 nodes at level 2 to choose from in my talent tree. Okay. So this right here would be considered tier 1. This is tier 2. This is tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, tier 6, and tier 7 of how this particular tree works. In mine, there's only 5. And you know, this could all be changed. Can you draw yours for us? Actually, so this is here. Let me do this real quick. I actually was sort of creating it from one of my thumbnails. And this will give you a little bit of a visual idea of what I'm kind of talking about. And again, very simple. So this would be the talent tree. It's nothing crazy. It's not like you have to pick one or the other. So this right here is tier 1. So you have a choice of 8 nodes. Okay. Tier 2, you have another 8 nodes. Tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. Okay. So this is kind of like the visual representation of my talent tree. It looks super simplistic. I know, I get it, but you'll see the magic in a second. So we go here and you'll see that tier 1, every guild of any size has full access to it. And again, all of the tier 1 stuff is more horizontal things, and it's nothing vertical in progression. Okay. As you start going up into the higher stuff, tier 4 and tier 5, that's when you start getting into the more vertical progression of some of these nodes. Okay. So as you can see here, most of the mega guilds will have access to tier 1 and somewhat limited of tier 2. Okay. But you'll also come to find out that mega guilds are also penalized in their size, so therefore being level 25 does not award them 25 talent points to play with. Okay, so as you can see here, let me see, this is kind of like another example of the tier 1 stuff. So mega guilds, you'll see, basically have these two things, and then larger guilds, medium guilds, small guilds. I should go up to the top and show you guys what I mean about the penalization. Let me see. Level 1 takes 5,700 gold worth of glint to get. If you don't run caravans, each token you buy is 10 silver, then only worth 100 XP. Voice. In my guild talent tree, I haven't even begun to even talk about XP and leveling. I understand that right now in game, it's utterly atrocious. I get that. But I also have an understanding that Intrepid feel like, I'm sure they missed the mark on it. But that's not my greatest qualm with the guild talent tree. The biggest qualm I have with the guild talent tree is it's boring. The nodes aren't interesting enough, and you need to allocate guild talent points to increase your guild size. Those are the two major qualms that I have with the current tree. Now, does costing a shit ton of glint and also a shit ton of experience just to go from 1 to 2, is that atrocious to me as well? Absolutely. But I feel like that can be easily fixed into smaller numbers, smaller glint size, more scalability. That to me is an easy fix. The not so easy fix is the philosophy of the talent tree, of how complex they want it to be or how interesting they want it to be. That to me is another fundamental issue. The other fundamental issue that I see is also allocating talent points to increase your guild size. That might be something Intrepid really wants from this system. I don't. A lot of people that I've talked to also don't want that. Okay. Now, if you want to create your guild size based off of something strategic, you should be able to do that day one. If you want to create 250 man guilds because you feel like that's the best size and best, talent points for your buck and what you want to do as a guild leader, you should have that choice to do that. The other thing is people are wanting to eliminate the Zerg stuff, and I feel like you're not really ever going to get rid of that, especially with Discord at people's disposal. Guilds, mega guilds will still organize and still do stuff in game regardless. I don't want to create a worse system to try to circumvent Zergs with the guild system, because that's just, you're not going to achieve it. I just want a good system in general. Like, that's what I want. I just want a good system. So let me scroll up real quick. Because I think I try to create some of because it does make photos of like what the talent tree would look like, and it was creating me some really bizarre stuff. Here, let me see. Here we go. So in-game mechanics. So basically, when you are between this size, you basically have access to 25 points that you can basically put in. Okay. And mind you, this tree here, some of them these aren't just 1 point nodes. Let me also be clear on that. I haven't finished this. Okay. This is all super early or whatever. Some of them you can allocate 2 talent points or even 3 talent points in a single node. Okay. My point is, a mega guild won't be able to go up to the top at all. They'll be completely restricted. And even the smaller guilds will still have to be strategic, even going up to the top. Because once they go up to the top, you may not be able to go to the top on another branch or several branches. Or maybe the play for your specific guild, because you're a niche guild, maybe you're just a mercenary guild, right? And you want to specifically allocate points that go into that niche. That's what you want, right? And with with the 4 categories, I'm sorry if I'm like being all over the place here. Before I get into the categories, so as you see here, if you have a guild of 150 to 199, you have a 4-point like knock, basically. So even being level 25 in a guild this size, you will only have 21 points to play with. Okay. And when you're in a guild of this size, you have only 17 points to play with. When you're in a guild of this size, you only have 13 points to play with, right? So, and you're also gated as well of just being grayed out of certain tiers, okay? Let me see. I agree. No one will go down the middle tree. They just make, they'll just make 10 guilds. Well, isn't that what we're doing now? Because we don't have the access to increase guild size, people are just going to create 50-man guilds over and over and over. And my thing is, if you are organized enough to facilitate doing that, then I think you've earned it, right? Because this is what the guild talent tree was going to do anyway. But there are some guild leaders that may not even care about some of these benefits because it doesn't really benefit their guild or what their function of the guild is going to be. Okay, so let me see. So here's some of the spending point stuff. So you must buy tier 1 nodes in a branch in order to unlock tier 2, so on and so forth. So you have to go up, right? In that sense. Let me see. So when it comes to the respec, you can offer a cooldown or a cost-based respec so guilds can adapt to their guild size changes. The other thing too is because it's sort of fluid, if you, let's say, have 149 points to play with, and then you invite another person to your guild and now you're 150, well, if you had put 25 points, well, now there's going to be you're going to basically force a respec on your guild talent tree to you're gonna have to get rid of 4 points. Which 4 points would you like to get rid of? Because now you basically went past the break point. That's what I would do. I would make it to where you're still flexible in whatever guild size you want, but if you go into certain brackets, then you are forced to remove some points depending on where you are. Let me see. I would like to see 2 talent trees per guild, one for crafting and one for combat. Just as there's different types of nodes, there should be different focus guilds. Well, in my talent tree, the beauty of this particular tree is each 2 strands is a different category. So because there's 2, 4, 6, 8, there's 4 categories of things. So let me kind of go into those categories real quick. So let me see. Let me go up real quick. Is this the one? Okay, so 2, 3, 4. Okay. So basically the first category is warfare and conquest. This is more of the PvP focus stuff, guild wars, siege warfare, combat buffs, like all this stuff. Second branch, you have economy and trade. You have basically professions, all that stuff. The third major branch is diplomacy and influence, politics, reputation, node stuff, mayor stuff. The fourth one is sort of like PvE, treasure maps, exploration, raids and dungeons, world bosses, treasure hunting, that kind of shit. So depending on what you want to focus on as a guild, sure, I can definitely lower the music. Is that better? So depending on what you want to focus on, you'll be able to have a laterality and control as a guild leader to go into certain branches, right? But every guild leader that I've talked to, some of them, again, it's not every guild, but the reason why I increased the minimum guild size requirement from 50 to 100 is because there's many guilds that I know of that have like 80, 90 members in their guild. And I think 100 seems like a better minimum standard than 50. Just in my opinion. I think having 100 members be like the minimum and not like 50 as the first breakpoint just feels better. Now, the other thing about having more nodes in a guild or in a talent tree like this is also creating unique nodes that your guild or your people will be excited about. Okay. And again, I haven't really refined this enough. And this is what I kind of wanted to do on stream today, was go through and see what ChatGPT came up with. And also just to see how maybe some of these could be, either reworded to fit the game better, because again, it's ChatGPT. Sometimes it thinks it understands the game enough, but there's some stuff that's like, that doesn't really make sense. And then we'll have to fix it basically. So we'll have to do that, but give me 1 second. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. Oh God. Okay. There is a version of GPT that is an expert in AOC, by the way. Really? Is it like a trained GPT bot specifically for Ashes of Creation? If there is one, please send it to my Discord, like IM me in Discord, and send me the link. I would really appreciate that. Definitely help me out to like, have all this stuff more engrossed in Ashes. But basically, here, let me go here real quick. Oh my God. All right, sorry, my voice is really bothering me. Okay, so let's go up real quick. So tier 1. So okay, so this stuff I might have to scroll down a little bit more, because I wanted to make a lot of the tier 1 stuff more horizontal, and this to me would be a completely broken. Now this is a very exciting point, but this is kind of like on the level of excitement, but I think this is way too much. Plus 3% damage and defense in guild PvP when grouped with 3 plus guildmates. Well, that doesn't kind of make sense in general, because if you're in guild PvP, you would already be grouped up with your guildies. So it's like, what are you talking about? And this is the thing that I think it's sort of missing here. And I think you can do, I think something different when it comes to, but this also shouldn't even be a tier 1 thing, in my opinion. Let me see, minus, see, this is a good tier 1. Minus 5% cost to craft basic siege weapons, rams, catapults. So just anything that requires for like the node sieges, castle sieges, you basically just have a 5% less cost going into that if you're going to take part in any of those things. Like that to me is a really, really cool one. Let me see. plus 15% guild experience with kills while defending guild-owned territories. This could be interesting. I like this one. Honor among allies. So you basically get guild experience from kills while defending guild-owned territories. So guild-owned territories could basically be if your guild is in control of a castle or a node. So if you have a person that is a mayor or a king and queen and they're in your guild, then you get 15% guild experience from kills while defending. That's actually a really good one. Here we go. Siege vehicles move 10% faster, 5% damage to gates. This is another really good one because it's very niche and it's specific to node sieges and castle sieges. That could be a really unique one as well. Battle standard. Place a banner that grants nearby guildmates plus 5% attack speed and 5% healing received. 30 seconds, 5 minutes, 5-minute cooldown. This is another really unique one. I like things that feel more guild-based than individual. Not saying that you can't have some individual buffs from your guild talent tree, but I like that it's also put into consideration that this is more of a guild thing. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of really like this particular one. Let's see, Rallying Cry. This is, let me see, requires 2 nodes in Warfare. Once per day, guild leader can activate a 10% damage reduction buff for all guildmates in PvP for 30 seconds. This is actually really cool. So it's a once per day thing, right? It will only last for 30 seconds. Hell, I even think you can, if it's gonna be a once per day, you can make this like a minute long, you know, or 5 minutes long. I mean, if it's once per day, dude. Like if you're gonna be in a guild war, you got war decked, you know, and your guild hasn't really popped anything. This is a nice little defensive for small guilds to take part in. This actually could be something that you could actually make in the earlier tiers as well. That's what I also got to figure out too. What I wanted to do originally was get all this stuff in a Word doc and then sort of start moving and shifting things around to make it to make each particular perk in the right tier, because I think some of them aren't particularly in the right tier. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so what's the next one? Tier 4. This is going up more tippy top. So Dominion, plus 3% to all stats in guild control castle and nodes. Okay, so now this is more vertical progression here. This is really, really, really good. Here we go. Look at this one. Respawn timers and guild sieges reduced by 20%. So you could rework this to respawn timers in guild wars. That's interesting. If you did wouldn't mind a group gathering buff with guildies. Well, I think there's already node stuff that gives you like crafting buffs, gathering buffs, processing buffs. Like, I'm not saying that I wouldn't mind that in the guild talent tree, and we haven't even got to the economy and profession stuff yet, but I think the node, and there's already mandates and policies that do that stuff already, so I don't want to get too overly crazy with buffs, especially in that regard for professions. But that's a really interesting one. All right, so now we're at capstones. This is like the big kahuna ones. Each PvP kill by a guild member grants a stacking 1% damage, max of 5 for 10 minutes. Now, doesn't this shit get you excited? Holy fuck. This is insane. So you basically have a 5% damage amplifier for 10 minutes. So each kill by a guild member, I would probably rework this that each kill or each person you have killed while in a guild war grants a stacking 1% damage or even not just a guild war, but any PvP event, right? It could be a node siege, a castle siege, like any of that stuff. I mean, we'll have to restructure that in a second, but I mean, this is the kind of shit I'm talking about. Like, this is the kind of vertical progression that I think would get people really excited. Let me see. Conquest Supremacy. Plus 10% damage versus world bosses and rival guild bosses during guild wars. This is another very interesting one too. I mean, again, I am not a fan of just flat damage amplifiers, but we also said that we want the small guilds to be able to stay competitive against the larger ones. So having a 10% damage buff, you know, in this regard would actually be pretty interesting. Now, world bosses, especially in World Fair, I think this is kind of not where I was thinking. I mean, having 10% damage, because how can it be different than this one? So this one gives you 5%, but this one would give you 10%. See, this is stuff I'm talking about. Like, you would have to really hammer this stuff out to make sure that it's the right kind of vertical progression for the right event. You know what I'm saying? So maybe this one can be just for Guild Wars, and this one can be for, you know, node sieges or something like that. And you can even make it to where you can only have one or the other. So if you pick this one, you can't pick this one. Even a max, like a small guild, right? A guild that has 80 members, you can only choose one of these. You can't pick both, which I think that would be also very interesting to do with some of the capstones, right? So each capstone, you can only select one capstone. So, and the other one will be grayed out. All right, so the next one is the second branch. This is the economy and trade, okay? So this is tier 1. This is the smaller stuff. So 5% crafting speed, 2% chance to craft an extra item. This right here is, I think, pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Now, this is probably I think this is a little too strong, because depending on the item that is supposed to be created, would it be too overpowered as a tier 1 node? I think having the I think this one should probably be 5% crafting speed, 5% processing speed, 5% crafting speed, and then you can call it like Artisan's Fury or something like that kind of thing. But I think this also would need something too, like even just 5% profession speed in general. So just overall profession speed, like for processing, gathering, and crafting. But I think it needs something else, because this is a little too overpowered. But what can replace this that would actually keep it attracted, that wouldn't be overpowered? I think a 2% chance to refund you a random material or something like that. So when you craft an item, there's basically a chance that if you have all the items required to craft it, that as soon as you craft it, it'll actually not take a certain component. There's like a 2% chance that, oh, you don't need this material or whatever. I don't know how that would work or whatever, but that's sort of like what my mind is kind of thinking about. Let me see, 5% caravan carrying capacity for guild-owned caravans. This is a really good one. I like this one. Oh, I like that one. 5% chance to have no processing fee. Yeah, I like that one. That's a good one. Hell, I would even go 10% chance, to be honest. I would go 5% crafting speed and then 10% chance to have no processing fee. I think that would be a really good one. This is also another good tier 1, 5% caravan carrying capacity for guild-owned caravans. I don't know how that would work, especially with slots on caravans. Yeah, this one would need to be, I think, reworked a little bit, but I like the spirit of where this one's going. Let's see. Negative 5% sales tax in nodes where guilds have influence. Now, I think this one should be negative 5% sales tax in nodes where guilds, where a guild member is mayor. Like that to me was where I would kind of reword that one. So if one of your guildies is a mayor of a node, then you basically you'll get a 5% tax cut, or not cut, but just like a discount in general. I think that would be really good. Let's see, 10% caravan durability. So plus 10% caravan durability. Caravans take 5% less damage from PvP. This is a really good one. I like this one. Caravans are really big in Ashes of Creation. I think having more durability for the caravan itself and actually taking less damage from PvP in general. I think also it should say caravans and caravan drivers should take 5% less damage from PvP. Where guild has a freehold. I didn't even think about the guild freeholds. Yeah. Well, I mean, is that really an influence though? Is that... I think there could be some really interesting ones for guild freeholds. Uh, 100%. All right, let's see. Let me see. Merchant's Touch. Plus 10% chance for higher quality items when crafting consumables. When crafting consumables. So you have a 10% chance when crafting like a rare piece of food that it can go up to heroic. That's interesting. I like that. That's actually really cool. Unlocks a special workshop in Guild Hall with exclusive recipes. I mean, that could be cool. I mean, there is going to be the guild freeholds. So you unlock a special workshop in the guild freehold with exclusive recipes, but what would those exclusive recipes be? I think this one probably wouldn't work as it currently is worded. But this could definitely be something guild hall related or guild freehold related. You know what I mean? Let me see. Top tier crafting tree guild buff can access one tier above any station you use in one specified processing or crafting profession. Choice is permanent. Oh. I like that one, Dolem. I like that one. That's another really good one too. Let me see. So here's the tier 4 one. Negative 10% building tax on freeholds / housing in guild controlled nodes. This is interesting. What I would probably, instead of building tax, you can probably take some of the items needed to make the building is 10% less, right? So if it's like 1,500 of us, like granted or whatever, but that wouldn't be just for the guild though. That would be for the entire node. So that wouldn't work. So it wouldn't be, you couldn't do it towards building the building, but you could make it to where like 10% like processing fees, like or crafting fees, or just fees in general from the building that was created if your guild controls the node, I think could be interesting too. Maybe that would need to be a little reworded differently. Let's see. Artisan's Workshop. a plus 5% chance to craft bonus gear pieces, IG extra gem sockets, or slight stat boosts. Oh. This is good. I like this one. Holy shit. So if you craft like a piece of shoulders, it could have like a +1 or +2, almost like a built-in enchant that gets on the piece. There's like a 5% chance to have that happen. I like that. I like that. Or even it could actually, instead of doing the slight boost stat, it can also give a socket to the piece, like when you crafted it. That's really fucking good. How do you define guild controlled? How I'm defining guild controlled is if a person in your guild is a mayor. Because I really don't understand guild control either. That's why I would probably reword it to, if there's a person in your guild that is a mayor, well, of course, mayors control territories, right? Like you control like the territory of Nuela or Halcyon or Winstead, Marilith, you know, all that stuff. Jova. So you would basically have certain perks within that region. Let me see. Guild controlled nodes. What does that actually mean? Guild member as mayor. One of the 5 guild councils control the node. Yeah, that's kind of my mode of thinking too. It's just, it's either mayor or king and queen. That's kind of like my mode of thinking right there. Ah, my God. I might have to stop streaming, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep going. But man, my throat is, it's not working. Okay. Let me see. This is the top. Plus 50% guild capacity. Oh, ability to create sub vaults from organized items. Bro, holy shit. You can literally have the ability to create a sub tab. Now this is the shit I'm talking about, man. I know Mag right now is foaming at the mouth for something like this. This is good. So you get 50% more guild capacity, and you have the ability to create sub tabs for item organization. That's pretty fucking powerful, in my opinion. That's definitely a anyway. See her 10% trade profit and 10% resource yield from guild run caravans. This one doesn't excite me too much, but if you go and I like this 10% resource yield from guild run caravans. Like if your guild is doing like a resource run to another territory and you do it successfully, you actually are going to get a 10% like amplifier on those resources. That's really good. And then also the 10% trade profit, that could also be for commodities, right? So you can actually have a 10%, a plus 10% trade or commodity profit, and also the resource profit. So it's kind of like a twofold there. I don't know. This could work if just reworded a little differently. I might have to do that. But like so far from what I'm reading, a lot of this shit is more in line with the kind of unique, exciting nodes that I was expecting. Because right now, like when you go look at the current tree, it's just boring. 5% more health, 5% more mana, add 10 members. Like it's just, everything's just so, especially because of how long it takes to level. Are you truly going to be excited that now you can invite 10 more people to your guild? That doesn't seem exciting at all to me. Like at least what this talent tree is trying to do is provide guild leaders with actual hard decisions to make, you know? And that's what I want. I want a talent tree that actually feels worth investing into. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like the current one just, it just falls flat on a lot of the stuff on it. All right, so this is diplomacy and influence. This is the third branch. So political leverage. plus 10% success chance in node leadership elections for guild members. Plus 10% success chance in node leadership elections for guild members. I don't think that even works. So this is like reputation, node governance, alliances, political power. I might have to ask ChatGPT to make up another category than this one. But let's go through them. Let's see what can work. Plus 10% reputation gain with NPC factions and node governments. There isn't even reputations in Ashes of Creation. Are there going to be reputations later? You see good actions such as completing buy orders, commissions, caravan trips, treasure to gain positive node reputation. Bad actions taken such as failing certain quests may result in gaining negative reputation. This reputation is gained or lost on per node basis. Whether you're a citizen or not, you can establish reputation within a node, and the way you establish that reputation is by completing buy orders, completing commissions and quests, and even completing caravan trips. Different interactions that you would do with the node can yield you reputation within that particular node. Wait, wasn't this the happiness thing? Like, I don't even think that's currently in the game right now, but I remember them talking about like a citizen, like a happiness thing. Let me see, all node to node reputation changes are increased by 5%. Yeah, I remember during this presentation, they talked about node happiness, like how happy you are. If there are two nodes are friendly towards each other, but a new mayor wants to unilaterally start a war, how many mayoral cycles would it take for the new mayor to degrade node relations to the point that a war commission would become available? That's a very good question. So that includes a system that hasn't yet been fully implemented, which is our mandate power system. And mandates are essentially powers that the mayor will have available to them in order to enact certain policies. And some policies might make it possible for the mayor to degrade node relationships faster than would normally be available, but would cost him more mandate power in order to enact those policies. Now, this requires some level of buy-in from citizenship, not just the fact that he got elected, but these policies that get enabled will require some opt-in participation from the broader citizenship. If he is then granted some of the emergency power acts, then the policies provide, he could skip the standard degradation period or time in order to enact either a war event or some other type of adversary relation type of action with the node. I guess I don't remember. I remember something about happiness, but maybe I could be wrong. So this one could actually be good. I just, right now, we don't have any kind of reputation that people are currently doing. Send guild emissaries to allied nodes for negative 2% node taxes for guild members. Emissaries. Yeah, that one, I don't know if that one even works. Plus 5% discount on housing / services and partnered nodes. Now that's a good one. That's a good one, especially with vassal ships. So any kind of housing, whether it's apartments, whether it's freehold, or whether it's the in-node housing or services, right? Services can be anything. It could be, processing. It could be crafting. It could be, hell, even buying stuff off of a vendor. That's really good. This is a very goated talent node so far. When allied with another guild, both gain plus 2% XP and 2% gold in group activities. Okay. This is another good one in my opinion. I like this. It's small. I'd probably make it probably 4% or something like that, because it is a tier 3. I would say like 4%, like double both. So I would probably do plus 4% glint, right? Because I mean, gold doesn't really exist in the sense of like the group activities. Or you can do glint / gold depending on what activity it is. If it does award you gold, you'll get gold. If it's glint, then it's glint. But that's another good one. I like, especially now that there is going to be alliances with other guilds, and most people are going to be alliance with themselves, which is fine, but it is what it is. Let me see. Negative 20% penalty of / reputation loss from hostile actions in neutral allied nodes. That could be good depending on when we do end up getting reputation. This could actually be a really solid one, but without reputation and how that is even going to work, I'm just kind of lost on this one, but that could be very interesting. Okay, what's tier 4? So now we're getting into some of the big boy stuff. Plus 5% no taxed revenue when a guild member is mayor. Plus 5% no development speed. Ooh. Wow. Okay, so you basically get your node will get more tax revenue when your guild member is a mayor, and the node will develop 5% faster. That's pretty fucking good in my opinion. That's pretty powerful. And that's tier 4, man. Shit. Grants a council chamber in guild hall to hold NPC or allied guild negotiations. Minor quest / reward boosts. I like how it's kind of going outside of the box and creating some kind of new content. That could actually be interesting, but it all depends on the kind of rewards you get from it, right? I don't know. I mean, that's interesting that it even came up with something like that. Sovereign rule. If a guild member becomes mayor, the node building and services cost are negative 10% for all guildmates. Now that's the shit I'm talking about. That is really freaking good. Grand Alliance. What's that one? Form a special alliance with up to 2 other guilds, granting 3% experience and resource gathering speed when grouped together. Wow. That's really good too. Shit. All right, so let's look at some of the PvE stuff. All right, so tier 1, 5% chance to find treasure maps or hidden cache keys from mobs / gathering. You could make that like a 5% chance to find faded maps or restore treasure maps from mobs. If that was the wording, that would be really fucking good, in my opinion. You see negative 10% consumption of potions / food. Takota, dude, thank you so much for the sub on YouTube, man. Thank you. Hope you're enjoying the content, dude. So negative 10% consumption of potions / food in dungeons, plus 5% duration on consumables. That's really good. For a tier 1, I like that one. Very horizontal. And that one would work really well in this game. I like that. Let me see. Reveals hidden dungeon entrances on world maps for guild members. I don't know if I particularly like that. I mean, it sounds cool on the surface, but with the internet and Ash's Codex, I really don't think that would be much of a perk, to be honest. So that one might need to be replaced with something else. Let me see. 5% plus 5% chance for rare epic loot drops from elite mobs and world bosses. I like that. For a tier 2, it's a 5% chance. I mean, and it's rare and epic. I think you can even do rare and heroic, right? So this can be changed to just rare and heroic. Or it can be changed to uncommon and heroic, or uncommon and rare. But I like the spirit of this particular perk. I think this is definitely more exciting. Let's see, Dungeon Delvers, plus 10% bonus loot from final dungeon / raid bosses when 3 guildmates are in the party. Yes, this is the shit I am talking about. I like this. 10% bonus loot from final dungeon boss or even a raid boss when there are 3 or more people in your guild in a party. That's the shit I'm talking about. That's really good. Explorer Spirit, plus 10% XP from discovering new zones, hidden areas, or lore achievements. I don't even think you get experience from, like, because there is no Fog of War currently. I really don't know if Ashes is even going to have a Fog of War. I personally don't mind Fog of War, but I just don't know in what way Ashes can do Fog of War in an interesting way. Most games, like, and I would be totally fine if they did a one-time Fog of War, right? You uncover the fog and then it's done and you'll never have to really interact with that system again. I'm fine with that. It's been like that in many MMOs that I played. There's a lot of people who want to reintroduce Fog of War when changes are made and this and that. I'm like, dude, once that starts happening, you're literally just not even going to interact with your map and you're just going to interact with the map on Ashes Codex. Like, that's literally what's going to happen. So I would rather, personally, I know it sounds cooler and more like, well, back in the old days, the developers would have made it to where you had to do the Fog of War again and again and again. Like, okay, dude, but we don't exist in 2005 Internet Explorer anymore either, you know? Let me see. Idea for combat tree for guilds starts off with some basic upgrades, then splits into 3 paths: one for siege combat, one for land-based combat, and one for naval combat. Splits the focus. I can definitely see that. And again, my system, this whole thing that we're doing here, is more for what would be a better foundation of a talent system. And I think what I have created, in my opinion, is a better foundation than the current foundation of the talent tree. Just my opinion. And there's, because there's so many systems in Ashes, like there's nothing in this guild talent tree that even involves naval, right? There's going to be other things too for the economy, like the stock exchange, other big parts of the economy that once those things go online, like the guild talent tree has to kind of take certain aspects of those systems to, you know, improve or to make better or whatever. So I think with what we currently have to play with, I think this is, like, you know, pretty good to play with. Let's see what tier 4 is. Arcane Insight, plus 3% damage versus elite PvE mobs / bosses, negative 5% cooldown on class skills in PvE. I like the verticalness of it, but I am fine with this in a sense. This I don't, the way it's worded, I don't particularly like. Let me see. Unlock a guild treasure vault for storing rare artifacts, possibly synergy with treasure maps. This would have to be completely replaced with something different. I think you can do something like, when completing a treasure map, the treasure box has a, you know, like a 10% chance to award you another treasure map of a higher rarity or something like that. Like, I think that could be something pretty interesting, especially at a tier 4 level. All right, what's this? Tier 5. So this is the big one. Let me see. Master Relic Hunters, plus 15% reward from treasure maps. Okay. And plus 5% chance to drop legendary items in raid bosses. I mean, that's particularly fucking powerful. I like this. I am not a fan of this. I think I think you should probably make this more epic. 5% chance to drop. Well, because epic already probably drops from raid bosses, right? You think of like Tumok and you think of Firebrand. But legendary is too much. How this one would have to be rewarded to something. I can't really think of something right now, but 50% reward from treasure maps. I mean, you can basically make that to be 15% more, like 15% more shit basically inside those treasure maps. That could be really interesting. Or from the rewards themselves. You just have 15% more stuff that comes from the treasure box. Like that would be really cool. But it needs that plus something else. I just don't think that's it particularly. Summons a temporary expedition camp in the open world, granting plus 10% movement speed and a small rest bonus to guildmates. I mean, almost like putting like a like what New World does with their little encampments. I think granting 10% movement speed is not enough of a bonus. A small rest bonus, I think, is I think that's more on the track, but I don't know if it's the 10% movement. What's going on, dude? Good to see you, buddy. Are the servers off? Yes, it is. We go online on Thursday at noon Central. On Thursday. I thought we only got heroic from the world bosses. To my understanding, I thought it was epic. I could be wrong, but I thought from world bosses there were some epic items that could potentially drop. So yeah, I don't know. I think this one needs to be kind of retooled and reworked to be a little bit different. My God. Oh shit, my throat is so inflamed. I feel my tonsils really bad. Oh my God. Okay. So yeah, because I'm basically in the process of making a video about the guild talent tree. And there's gonna be certain things I'm not really gonna talk about in the guild talent tree. I know everybody's been talking about how much experience and how much glint it takes to go from, you know, level 1 to level 2. I think, again, not saying that's not worth talking about, but it's been talked about to hell and back since we've introduced this system on Thursday, and the devs know about it. Plandorf knows about it. Steven knows about it. Marco knows about it. Like, everybody knows about it. I think this decision will be made in how they lower it, but I think there are, to me, just bigger, more fundamental issues with it. Like, again, you know, let's just go back here. Guild progression. The fact that your first point should not be one option. That is a fundamental flaw in this system already. You need to give guilds way more options. Like I said, in my talent tree, you have literally 8 options to choose from, with 4 different completely different categories, right? It should work in this fashion. Now, it doesn't have to be like this simplistic, right? I don't care how pretty or cool, like, oh, there's one point here and it branches off and goes to 2 other nodes and blah, blah, blah. Like, my fear with a talent tree, this even goes into talents for classes, is the more nodes, the less interesting these nodes have to be. The less nodes, and you know when I say a node, I'm referring to a singular circle. The less nodes, the more interesting those nodes can be. And I just think that I don't want a level 50 guild talent tree, right? There's 50 levels to the guild talent tree, similar to the adventuring levels. And I don't want to have 75 or 100 nodes on it, because a small guild would need to go up to the max capstone, and the bigger guilds will have to not be able to access those things, and then we just have like very run-of-the-mill boring ass nodes. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. But if I can come up with even a 60 node guild talent tree, I am down to do that, but I am still leery on advancing past level 25. I think 25 points potentially, and I say that with a caveat because I just explained how my particular system works, is enough. There needs to be hard decisions that are going to be made within this guild talent tree, and that's going to solidify your guild into the kind of niche they want to go in. Does our guild want to be more PvP oriented? Does our guild want to be more PvE oriented? Does our guild want to be more profession oriented? Like, what do we want to do? Right? Like, that to me is the major question. Let me see. As an artisan, don't pay that close attention. I always take one of those emergency packets if I feel the lymph nodes under my jawline. Helps a ton to keep me from fully getting sick. Good luck, dude. Yeah, I probably need to do that. I had a major headache last night. Like, I wanted to get on. My wife got home, and I wanted to stream yesterday because I was gonna do my 1v1, but then when Nice said he couldn't do it, I was like, oh, okay. But I felt like this really big headache coming on, and I took something to see if it would go away, and it didn't go away. I had it pretty much all night, and it finally went away this morning, and now I feel like my headache's coming back. But yeah, in general, I just want something good. I want to look at these nodes, and I want to hover over them and be like, wow, that's fucking cool. That's something that's really exciting to have. I don't want to hover over something and be like, oh, I get 5% more health. I get 3% more experience. Like, bro, I can buy a scroll right now in the game that'll give me 3% more experience. Like, that's not exciting to me. I think Intrepid really needs to take a hard look onto what systems they want guilds to niche themselves in. And if a guild, like I said, wants to make 6 level 50 guilds or 6 50-man guilds, let them do it. Like, I understand that we want to circumvent mega zergs and these big guilds, but what is circumventing Pirate Software right now currently in the game? Nothing. Doesn't Pirate Software have like over 20 something guilds like on Lineth? Your cough is making you sound like your mouth. I'm sorry, dude. I think what we really need to take a look at are the war decks. And in my opinion, war decks need to change completely. I think there should be different subsets of war decks that a guild leader could buy. Like, as an example, you can buy a 16v16 guild war, which means if you'll take the top 16 people in your guild, the guild you're war decking will take the top 16 people in theirs. You go to you'll go to a designated circle in whatever area in the Riverlands or in the node or within the world, and then you have a certain time limit to do a certain objective there. Now, whether it's to kill each other or whatnot or whatever, and those ones should be relatively cheap. And then it goes from 16v16 to, let's say, 40 versus 40 to 80 versus 80 to 100 versus 100. And if you want to do, and it goes up in cost each time you add more people, it gets way more expensive to initiate that scroll. And if you want to do a full guild, like a full guild like deck, that is the most expensive. So that way it basically circumvents these big guilds who want to dogpile on small guilds. You know what I'm saying? Because if you really truly want to go over, you know, and spend the money for your guild, which it may not even be worth it. If someone pissed you off enough, a 40 versus 40 could be enough. A 16 versus 16 could be enough, right? To send a message, basically. But I think we need to look, there's other systems I think we need to look at for Zergs than thinking that the guild talent tree is going to fix the Zerg problem, because there's many systems in Ashes of Creation that need to be tweaked in order to make Zergs less effective. But in general, numbers traditionally win. Organization traditionally wins. So, but if we want to make these guild talent trees have vertical progression for the smaller end guilds, for the ones that aren't going to create 3 or 4 other guilds, right? Because they only have 80 people, then they need to create a guild. Maybe they'll create 2 40-man guilds, right? Which they can definitely do. And I said this before last time when we talked about the guild talent tree. When it comes to experience, I think there needs to be a scaling factor when it comes to how much experience is gained and how much experience is needed to achieve a certain level. Okay. So as you're leveling, right? Like, let's say your guild is level 3 and you have 80 people in your guild, and then you just invited 2 more people. Now there's like a little bit of a bump to go to level 6, right? If you're level 5. I don't know what number I said before, but let's say you're level 5 and you want to go to level 6. Now that's going to require a little bit more experience. And I know there's going to be certain people that will say, oh, well, what's stopping a person or a guild by just staying very, very low and blasting through to level 25, and then inviting all those people? Well, in my system, as soon as you invite all those people, you're not going to have 25 points to play with. That's the trade-off. Like, if you want 300 people in your guild, in my version, there's a penalty. Right? So if you were here, right, and had 25 points to play with, and in one day you invited, you know, you had 100 people, and now you invited, and now you have over 300. Well, now you have 12 points that you have to basically respec your talent tree, because only 13 points are usable. So that time you'll have to respec your talent tree and get rid of shit. So I think there is trade-off to increasing your guild size, and that's basically sacrificing the vertical progression in that sense. So that's kind of what I would do in general. But yeah, for the most part, I think there's a lot of stuff Intrepid's going to have to do with this particular system. I know they're already looking at the XP threshold and requirement to go from level 1 to level 2. I understand they're looking at it in the sense of like guild runs or guild run commodities and all this other stuff. But I think when it comes to any numerical value, whether it's glint value, whether it's the experience value, I don't really take any of those numbers quite seriously, because again, we're still super early. Like, if you've been in my channel for any length of time, I've said many, many times that this is still probably 3 to 4 years out, right? We have plenty of time to fix this system. So all I'm trying to do is give a more broader approach into what I would do to circumvent big guilds. And this is an avenue that could do that, but there needs to be more avenues from other systems. Like war decking is a big example that I gave earlier. And you could fix that system to also circumvent a large guild beating up a smaller guild. Because a large guild, let's say as an example, it took 100 gold to do a full guild war deck, like where all of our members are going to go up against all of their members. Would a guild spend 100 gold to do that? Probably not. You know, unless it's some crazy ass vendetta or, you know, someone truly pissed them off, but they're probably not going to do that. So being able to go to a more like a smaller approach, I think is better, in my opinion. And we'll see. And I think the other thing too is that, like, as an example, let's say you want to do 100 versus 100, but the guild size that you're trying to war deck only has 55 people in. If there isn't enough participation from the other side, you can't effectively start the war deck. That's another thing I would do. Like, you need the full participation. That also kind of evens out the bullying of these larger guilds to smaller guilds. Like, if you're going to war deck somebody, everybody on both sides has to be equal. Like, that's how I would do it. Just to keep everything in line. If you want to keep shit fair, that's how you would do it. But yeah, I have to really hammer out all these nodes and details. But again, this is sort of like a little sneak peek into, like, you know, kind of like the video that I'm trying to pull off and the kind of idea that I want to have for this guild talent tree, the mentality and the kind of like that's a node that I would really be excited about. You kind of see the vision that I'm going for here. Let me see. I don't know if I can get behind that war deck. It allows guild to harass or hinder another guild, then have their guys log off and avoid repercussions. That's what the surrender button is for. So when it comes to a surrender, like, I get that. But there are people right now that are war decking guilds that they don't even have. Like, you have a guild that's like, you know, potentially, like, right now I know that the highest guild size is 50. Most everybody is going against 50-man guilds. Like, I get that. But you have like a guild that has like a particular alliance with another guild, which is like their same guild, right? Like Axiom, I think, has like 4 guilds, right? And I'm talking about once we start getting past the threshold of 50 is what I'm really referring to. I think you just need to look at the guild, the war decking in a different approach once we can get past like 50 members. Like, I think there's still some issues with the way the current war decking approach is, but what I would do is I would tier off war decking to have, you know, like, if you want to do a 16 versus 16, a 40 versus 40, or a 16, let's say a 16 versus 16, 40 versus 40, 80 versus 80, 100 versus 100, and then like a full guild war deck. Like, that's what I'm saying. Let me see. There will be a spin up to the war just surrender, and that might be the approach. I haven't really looked too heavily in the war decking situation, but from what a lot of guilds have said, it's really annoying to deal with, and it's also because of how cheap these war decks are. And I would make in my opinion, the guild war system should be something that shouldn't be taken lightly, and it also shouldn't be something that you spammably do. That can cause a lot of fatigue. And I understand that, you know, this is a PvX game, but there also should be certain costs that are associated with it are way more expensive than what currently is now. And I think people are abusing the lumberjacking, fishing, war decks because they are the cheapest ones. And I think that also needs to be looked at more heavily, is what I'm saying. Like, you need to kind of adjust some of the pricing, and I think it's just going to take time. It's all little growing pains that we have to face right now as testers. But I'm glad that we're experiencing these growing pains, because it's going to make the game better, right? And as long as we can keep experiencing the game more naturally as we currently are, we're going to find these issues, we're going to address these issues, and we're going to hopefully fix these issues. Flanker, dude, what's going on, brother? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, the current version sucks and is temp. Yeah, exactly. It's temporary. And all I'm trying to do is offer something that makes the current system better, right? You see, surrender should have a minimum time fought before able to be declared. Otherwise, you can just avoid wars entirely. Well, I think there should, in my opinion, there should be some cost associated to surrendering. Excuse me. There should be some cost associated with surrendering. In a perfect world, that should be the case. But in my perfect world, it should also cost a hell of a lot more to initiate the war deck in the first place, right? Than where it currently is. if both of those things exist, then I think that would be very good. Having a cost to surrender and also having the cost to initiate the war deck to be more expensive. That's why, part of why the guild war system feels bad is because the corruption system is not finished. You cannot stop someone from actively hindering, let's say, your PvE farm spot without corrupting and potentially losing items. The same for world bosses. You can't stop someone from taunting and trying to reset a boss without going red. Well, and I kind of talked about world bosses before, but in my opinion, every world boss should have a certain radius of being a combatant. If you are within a certain radius of a world boss, you should be purple. It should force anyone within that vicinity to be purple. Just like if you go into the desert, you enter into the desert, you're purple, right? You leave the desert, now you're blinking, now you're green again, right? But world bosses are a PvX system. It's a PvE PvP event, because you're going to have people fighting the world boss, and you're going to have people that you're going to want to fight the people fighting the world boss. But being able to stay green creates issues. It creates these really weird issues. So making them like sort of like PvP zones is what I would have done to remedy that scenario. Seeing the PvP zones around world bosses in Lineage 2 worked pretty well. And again, like Steven is a huge Lineage 2 fan. I'm pretty sure they're probably just getting around to creating such a radius, because you could just be on the Riverlands, right? Sometimes with Tumok, I didn't even really see Tumok. You know what I mean? And so I think that would also cause like let's say if I'm just doing some gatherables and wait a minute, like it sends like a warning to me being like, you are like near Tumok the Wretched. Oh shit, well I don't want to be flagged, let me just leave the area real quick, right? Like that's what should happen. You know, it's a forced PvP radius that happens when you're near a world boss. I do like how some of the most desirable things right now are in the desert PvP zone, like hippos for some bis. Most of the wormlings, most of the day striders, you have to be in the PvP area to obtain. Right. Now, let's also be very clear too. Once the desert goes fully online, the lawless zones are probably going to go away. The only reason why the lawless zones are currently there is because the desert and the tropics weren't done. So in order to keep things interesting in those areas, they made them lawless. They made them kind of like the designated PvP zones. But once again, those areas become more fleshed out or even finished, they're not going to be lawless zones anymore. So then they'll become more into what maybe the Badlands or maybe other biomes when those come online, and they're like partially coming out similar to where the desert was or the tropics were. Those will then become the lawless zones. You know, let me see. Lawless will move to the next in progress areas. Exactly. Fucking cough. Oh, my throat is killing me. It's killing me. I know I just got an ad right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and end stream. I'm gonna fuck. I'm gonna wait for the ad to come back, or for people to come back. All right, guys. Now that my people are back, I'm gonna probably end stream. My throat is literally killing me. I have to stop talking. Thank you so much for kind of hanging out with me. Flanker, dude, whenever you're not busy, dude, hit me up. I would love to have our conversation on the 1v1. A lot of interesting stuff to talk about. I would love to hear how Ashes has been treating you. Talk about your content. You know, if you're not subscribed to my boy Flanker, what are you doing with your life? He probably makes some of the best Ashes content right now on YouTube. So please go check out his channel. Tomorrow, if I'm well, I am available tomorrow. I will hit you up. I will hit you up tomorrow if I'm feeling better. I'm gonna try to gargle some salt water. But yeah, if that'll happen, I would love to have a conversation tomorrow. I think that'd be really cool. Hopefully if my voice is up to it. But I was able to talk for about 140 or 1 hour and 40 minutes, so I probably could pull it off. I would have to have my water near me. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys probably, hopefully tomorrow, fingers crossed, right? And maybe we will get some rogue stuff soon. I'm pretty excited, man. I was hoping PTR was going to come out today with some patch notes, and we haven't even gotten PTR, nor have we even gotten any patch notes, so it's kind of concerning, but I guess it is what it is. All right, guys, check you later.